Happy Friday. Thank you for tuning in once again for Fermented Friday with the Brewers Association of Maryland. I'm Jim with Grow Fortify and BAM. And we have got a wonderful chat this afternoon. We'll be talking about women in the industry again, but now we're talking about kind of the movement behind women in the industry and a movement that is set up to support women. So this is going to be a really great chat. If you have questions at all, please throw them in the comments. We would love to see your questions as we're talking about this live. If you missed this live broadcast, but you're watching at some point in the future, hi there. It's cool to time travel. But go ahead and leave your questions or comments in the comments section, either on YouTube or Facebook, and we'll address them there also. And before we get started, make sure you check out the Pink Boots Society of Greater Maryland on Facebook. They've got a great page over there with all the details about the events that we're going to be talking about today. Before I introduce all three of our wonderful guests, I do just want to let everybody know that Maryland's breweries are still open for business, still dealing with whatever restrictions and guidelines their local jurisdictions are offering up. But your favorite brewery is open for you to support. So please, this weekend, when you're out there making your decisions about what you want to do or what beer you want to drink, think Maryland first. Hashtag MD Beer. Show your support for a Maryland brewery. They love you for it. We love you for it. And that's what it's all about. So without much further ado, I'm going to introduce Amethyst from Checker Spot. Amethyst, how are you?
Great. How are you doing, Jim?
I'm doing well. It's wonderful to see you.
You too.
I would like to introduce Rachel from Dewclaw. Rachel, how are you?
Hey, everyone. I'm doing great.
Thanks for joining this afternoon. Looking forward to this. And I'd like to introduce Kate from Picket Brewing. Kate, how are you?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us, Jim.
You have a very cool background there, and I can't wait to hear more about what's going on at Picket. I like the single fermenter and the open brick wall. It is a great look. Oh, there's two.
Oh, wait, there's more.
Double the fun. I was only looking at one of them. All right, this is awesome. So before we jump into kind of the big conversation in the chat we're going to have, the three of you are co-founders or founders in a big group of women who have come together to found the Pink Boots Society Greater Maryland. That is our local chapter, I suppose, for the Pink Boots Society. Who wants to take the lead and share why that was a necessity and what the Pink Boots Society in Greater Maryland is going to do for women in the industry?
I guess I'll take this one since I kind of roped everybody else in. We had a Pink Boots Chapter Baltimore for about a year. It was very fledgling, but I was part of a group called Baltimore Beer Babes that was a large social group hosted mostly out of Checker Spot with Judy Neff and Chris Anderson from Maryland Homebrew, and which is great and awesome. I met so many strong women, but it wasn't career forward or industry forward. So I reached out to Rachel and said, hey, I Googled it and we can start our own chapter. Let's do it. And then Kate came out of the woodwork with a brewery and planning, and within 2 emails was hooked and in.
So how many women are currently in the chapter and representing as Pink Boots members?
Oh, well, we currently have like 30 people registered, but there are lots of women in our industry who aren't registered yet and are on that path to being registered. So I expect the numbers to definitely grow over the next couple of months because we just started.
Yeah, it's only been what, like 2 months that you've been active?
Yeah, our first meeting was actually on International Women's Day when we did the collaboration brew day at Checker Spot.
That's very cool. I didn't realize that was the first meeting of the group. That's awesome.
We used it as a launching platform to kind of network and get people interested, figure out who was already registered but had been assigned to Philadelphia or DC, and also to gauge interest of how many people wanted to actively participate versus just be a passive member. And so many people were unaware that they didn't have to be a brewer to be a member of Pink Boots Society. It also covers distilleries, cideries, kombucha, anything in the fermented beverage science can be a member of Pink Boots. So it's just getting the word out, grabbing all those taproom managers, marketing people, people considering opening a brewery, and just building a platform for them to work together and support each other.
I always appreciated that it was not a group solely for producers of fermented beverages. It wasn't just for the women that were involved with wort production or in the cellar. It involved women everywhere in the beer space. And reading more and more about it recently, I didn't know that they had expanded their kind of vision to include winemakers and distillers. And I think that that's really, really awesome that now you're kind of tripling up the force of really interested and inspiring women who are going to be promoting kind of this whole industry across the board. Why don't we talk a little bit about each of you and kind of where you are, what you do, and how you got involved in this industry, and then talk a little bit more about the great events that you guys have coming up to support the Pink Boots Society. So, Amethyst, I have the longest history knowing you. I used to sling beer for a brewery at your event in Mount Airy. So why don't we start with you? You've got a pretty cool story about where you are and what you're doing. So tell us about that. We'll round the horn and get everybody included.
Well, some people might recognize me from hijacking lots of beer shows. I just asked, can I be on your show? Thank you. So Jim's right. We met. I started a beer festival with no real background other than I drink beer. I started drinking craft back in the 90s at the microbreweries, and then have been a fan ever since. And I lived in the town of Mount Airy, and we had these breweries, and so many people just in the town didn't even know they were right there. So I could shout all I want, or I could host a giant festival. So I started a beer festival, and I ran that for 3 years, and I relocated down to Baltimore City when they were opening Checker Spot to help be a part of this. Having a female owner and female head brewer, it was just a really exciting opportunity for me to, I guess, have a midlife crisis. And then I met all these women, and there was a way to educate. I started just doing on my own beer women education workshops just to try and find more people to drink with. And now I'm a co-leader of a professional organization.
Well, that's pretty cool that you've been able to kind of come at it from the side of being an enthusiast and somebody who wanted to find ways to help promote breweries to now promoting women in the industry in a way that's truly meaningful and is going to make an impact.
Hey.
Rachel, how about you?
Hi. So I actually come from an art background. I was not originally into beer at all. I drank a little bit of craft, but at the time, what you would consider craft was like, I don't know, like Yingling. I was a Yingling drinker in college. And then I moved back to Baltimore, Maryland, which is where I was born and raised, but I was in the South for a while. When I came back to Baltimore, Maryland, I had applied for this job at DuClaw to be their social media manager and photographer. So I had graduated with a BFA in photography. That was my background. I come from art. And I got the job, and I immediately became immersed into the craft beer scene, drinking all kinds of craft beer, learning about the history of Maryland and how the craft beer scene started here and how far it's come since, and all the amazing new breweries that have popped up in the past year, 5 years, 10 years. So that journey started for me in 2016. I am now the marketing manager for DuClaw as of the end of last year. So while I do come from an art background, now I've kind of shifted into marketing and events and all kinds of stuff. And when Amethyst approached me about doing this project, I feel like she already knew I was going to say yes, because I like to say yes to big projects and just jump right in and give it my 100%. And I was like, of course I want to. There's nothing I love more than supporting the industry that I'm in. And especially since it's women focused, I believe that, we got to raise up our voices and come together, because it's just important to have that kind of perspective and diversity in the industry that, for so long it's been considered a male dominating industry, but you have so many breweries in Maryland, which I'm really proud of, who are female run, female owned, at least half their staff is female, all that kind of stuff. So I just think it's really important to talk about, and I'm super proud to be a part of it.
It's always been kind of a funny thing to me when we talk about the male dominance in this industry that was pretty much built on the backs of women figuring out how to brew. I got my love of beer from my mother. She was actually a home brewer, so I always found that was kind of an interesting thing when I'd meet other people in the industry, and they're like, "Oh, it's because I like, whatever my grandpa was drinking, and I decided I had to brew something better than that." It's like there was no inspiration from like a woman that like taught you about this. It's so cool that women have been involved in this in thousands of years, and here we are thinking that dudes are the only people who can do it, and we're obviously proving that's not true.
Mhm.
Kate, how about you? You are a brewery and planning, so you've got a lot of exciting stuff to tell us about.
Yes. So my name is Kate Conway, and I'm with Picket Brewing Company. My professional background is in operations. So of the three of us, I am new to the brewing industry, or newest to the brewing industry. And it happened pretty organically. My neighbor, Jason Howard, has been brewing for years and years. And we've been drinking his beer for a long time. My family are very good friends. Our kids are friends. And I'm between jobs, and I just started doing different projects for him and taking on different things. He would ask me to do things, and I would offer to do things. And then it just evolved into where we are now, where we're co-owners in Picket, and we're going to be opening in Pigtown on Pack Street, just over the Ostend Bridge from Checker Spot, a little later this year, hopefully late summer, early fall. And we'll open our doors and have a little tap room over here. And we have a lot of exciting things planned.
You guys are going to have a nice little critical mass of breweries there to really draw tourists and keep people occupied when they can't go and watch a baseball game or a football game.
Yeah,
So
we're excited.
it's going to be a hat trick of female-owned breweries.
It's awesome. And it's going to be great to have that be in one real easy location for consumers to come and visit and support.
Yeah, Amethyst already has the wheels turning. We have a lot of ideas on deck, and we're just waiting to implement them. So we're excited to open later this year and partner with breweries. And I think that's one of the most exciting things is all the collaboration that takes place. And my first real industry event was the Collab Brew Day, and met a lot of women in the industry in all walks of the industry, and it was pretty amazing.
I was the only man at that event, and I was very nervous walking up. I'm so glad that Judy ran to the door to let me in, because I really thought that I was going to get thrown out like I was not welcome. But it was wonderful.
Ladies are welcoming.
It was great to see all of you collected and interested in sharing your thoughts and stories about the industry. It was really impactful. I've been in the industry for going on a decade and a half almost, and it's like, looking around, the landscape has changed a lot. And it's great that there are women taking ownership of their role and their interest in what's going to happen with the future of the industry. So I was really, really happy to see all of that, and was really excited that everybody's gathering together. So that brew day was a pretty fun day. There was a brew going on pretty much the whole day. Women were coming in and out, offering some assistance. You guys have talked about names. Tell us a little bit about how that brew day went down. Amethyst, you were kind of organizing everything as it was going along.
Yeah, so as the number of participating women grew, it became very clear that, and with COVID and safety concerns, it was clear that we couldn't just collectively have everyone milling about the brewery. So Judy has been kind enough to let me host some women's learning experiences here previously. So we kind of used the same format. We put together some panels of what I thought would be relevant topics. We had a lot of women coming from different walks of life, different roles in their beer experience. And it was just really organic to hand off ways for other people to get involved. We had a diversity panel with several women of different ethnic backgrounds, sexual orientation, just their experience in the industry. We had Rachel was kind enough to do a marketing and photography workshop that we tried to have about 2 years ago, but by the time it was her turn, we were all super drunk and never got to that part. We had Crystal Rivera just opened Puerto Rican rum in Frederick. She came and talked about that decision as a female distiller of Puerto Rican background, how that came into fruition. It was just a great day of not just sharing beer, but sharing our journey and how we can support each other and what we need from each other.
It was very enlightening to hear the stories about the challenges that some of the women that were presenting felt as enthusiasts or as truly experts in the beer industry. When you're trying to share your story about beer or talk about a beer with a guest who undermines your authority because of your presentation as a woman, that's something that I think has been brought up in other conversations about diversity in the industry. You know, non-white dudes get the same stupid responses from consumers that are like challenging their authority or their knowledge because they don't look the way that the beer person looks. And I thought that was very enlightening, and it's truly kind of mind-boggling that still happens, frankly. I mean, this is an industry that, at least from the perspective of somebody inside it, you see enough people from enough walks of life to know that it really isn't just one way, and that there are a lot of people out there with really good thoughts and expertise that can share a good story and a good pint with you. So what is the goal of the beer that you guys brewed? What's happening with that beer? Where is it going? And what's the purpose behind it? I mean, I know you brewed it to have fun, but really, what are we doing with it?
Drinking it.
Okay.
Gonna drink it.
Does one of you ladies want to speak on kind of the mission of the Collaboration Brew Day?
Sure. So Pink Boots Society is a national organization, international organization. And every year on International Women's Day, they have a collaboration brew day where they pick a hop blend and you use that and you brew your beer, and you're supposed to have like the proceeds go towards the foundation so that they can raise funds for scholarships for women in the industry. So ultimately, that's our main goal. That's the whole goal of having this Greater Maryland chapter, is to not just exchange ideas and knowledge and information between each other and how we can build each other up, but also how we can support others in our industry who are women or female identifying, cis, trans, etc., who want to take that next step in their learning career in the industry and receive scholarship funds to pursue that. So that's the ultimate goal. To achieve that, we designed this label that you see here, Shades of Pink. The name was picked by everyone on the brew day itself. We also had a lot of other good names that we might circle back to later. But Shades of Pink is what won for this round. And as you can see all the different logos from all the local Maryland breweries of all who had women participating in the brew day. Everyone out, as far as Frederick to the Eastern Shore and North and South, it really encompasses the whole gamut of Maryland women in the industry, which is really awesome. And this beer will be in cans, super limited in some locations, but mostly on draft at our Pink Out events, which I'll let someone else take over that if someone else wants to talk about the Pink Out events.
Kate.
So our first Pink Out event is next Thursday at Full Tilt in Baltimore. And then we have another one at 10 Ike, which is, is that right, Amethyst? The 29th. And then another one at Cannes Filling Station in Cross Street Market on May 8th, I think is the date. And each of them have a different selection of beers that will be available, all associated with women in the industry. Amethyst, I don't have my notes in front of me to know which ones are at which event, but there's a mix. Do you want to add which ones will be at each event?
Well, yeah. So Full Tilt, which has one ticket left, one ticket remaining, one for next Thursday, I want to see the comments explode now on the side. So we'll have the Shades of Pink, which is a Neeple. That is a New England India Pale Lager that Judy has kind of played on a cold. Some people are calling them cold IPA. Some people are calling them IPLs. Judy just went ahead and did what doctors in microbiology do and made something legitimately more awesome. Full Tilt will have the shades of pink. Checker Spot is bringing their Kolsch. Ten Eyck is bringing the Peepening. That's the Whitey's Peep Marshmallow Sour. Charm City Meadworks is bringing their Out of Left Field, which is a Orange Crush inspired mead. It's cocktail based, super nice. And then Pipe the Side, which is probably one of our newest brewery friends, are bringing their ESB Nightjar, which is awesome because what we're trying to do is get beers into consumers' hands that aren't in distro or might not be in this region yet. So at Ten Eyck, we'll have Mullies will be there. We're going to get some Baltimore stuff down to the Eastern Shore. And then cans. I'm really excited about cans. Idiom's girls left our event, went back, and demanded to brew. And so they'll be bringing their beer project as well as Patuxent will have a beer on draft, which is I haven't had anything from them. I just don't have. They're just far away right now for us. So this is really exciting to see who's coming together, and we're getting different beers into the consumer's hands.
What are the objectives for your chapter to get a revolving calendar of collaborations going? I'm sure you're working on something like that. Have you got anything solidified? You like that? That's what happens when we have a casual conversation.
Can I say it? I'm going to say it. Okay, so the first collab we're going to do beyond our Pink Boots collaboration brew day will be with Duclos Brewing Company, and it's going to be named Tits Up.
Tits Up.
After the TV show The Marvelous Miss Maisel. It's basically an anecdote that her friend gives her every time before she goes out on the stage. It's almost like, hold your head up high and go out there and rock it, tits up. So we're going to be brewing that beer with from Checker Spot as well as the ladies at Ten Eyck, and we will release it. I think we're gunning for somewhere around an October release in cans and draft, not just in Maryland, but any in our distribution that'll take it. So kind of like the whole Eastern Shore and somewhat Midwest area. But I'm really excited about that beer. I just love the name, Tits Up. I feel like it's so fun. And I hope that we can do a lot of more empowering collaboration brews with other breweries as well, rolling forward. I mean, this is just going to be the first one. I hope to do like a bunch every year. It would be so cool because honestly, the more money we raise, the more women in our industry are getting scholarships, and the more that we're just going to keep furthering our end mission of just uplifting women in the industry. So I'm really excited.
I've seen releases kind of sporadically from breweries who want to celebrate the women in their staff. You see a Pink Boots release from a brewery here and there, but it's really cool to see that there's this coordinated push to get it done, because I think that there's we come back to critical mass. It means a lot when you have several people involved who all want to share that story and talk about it and get their fans involved. So I think the collaboration opportunities are great. And I can't wait to hear about more of them as they come along and as more and more people are interested in hosting. I think that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it's pretty cool that you have the ability to distribute through the Duclos distribution channel, because you guys have great access to the market that way. And it gets it in front of so many more people than it would just in a singular tasting room. So
yeah, I mean,
awesome.
That's what I love about what our mission is right now. We're having so many different types. We're trying to attack it at all different angles. The Pink Out events, like Amethyst said, we're getting beer into hands of people who they might not have traveled to that side of Maryland, and they're on the other side of Maryland, and local people who maybe aren't in distribution yet, and just uplifting in that way. And then we're even like taking a step further by being able to send it out to other states too. So not just Maryland is going to enjoy it, but possibly 21 other states, maybe even Canada and France will have this beer in their hand and be able to say, wow, look at Pink Boots Greater Maryland Chapter. That's us.
And it's going to have a stellar name.
Yeah.
And it's a Neeple, tits up Neeple.
So is the recipe staying the same, or is it going to be a different brew for each one of these releases?
Well, the Pink Out events, the main beer that we had brewed on International Women's Day, that is the same beer. We have lots of kegs of that, so it's going to be on all the different events. But as far as like when we collab with different breweries for a whole nother brew, yeah, it'll be a different brew. The one we're doing with Duclaw will be the same style. I think we might tweak it a bit because we'll have to take it from what size barrel system do you guys have at Checker Spot?
Well, we do that one on a 15 barrel. You guys are going up to 60, but we talked about we're playing with some hibiscus and other notes to like
cool,
make it pink.
Nothing wrong with that.
Cliche?
There is nothing wrong with that. I do think that I've seen several Pink Boots releases with hibiscus in it, but you know, nobody's offended by a beautifully stunning pink or magenta beer. I mean, they always look great.
Yeah.
So what currently is the Pink Boots Society doing on a more, I guess, national or international stage to promote women coming into the industry who may not have thought about what they could do as a brewer or as a marketing person in a brewery or as somebody who's running front of house operations in a brewery tap room? What are they doing to kind of expand the audience and bring women in from the outside?
As like the whole chapter? Or just our chapter?
Nationally.
Well, I was wondering generally what they do. I haven't seen much from that because I don't think I'm in the target demographic. But I'm wondering what does their outreach look like, and how do you promote to women who aren't already like interested in the industry that this is something that you might want to do?
I think, speaking as someone who's newer to the industry, I saw the leadership of Pink Boots National. I think it was on Craft Beer Professionals, one of their conferences, and they were all speaking. And I also thought that it was strictly for women who were brewers. And I realized it was for women throughout the industry in all different roles. They all had different roles, and they spoke so positively and talked about what an encouraging and educational experience it was. So that's why I initially joined. And I'm not going to lie, it was a little intimidating coming to that first event with all these ladies who have been in the industry for a long time. But what we've found, and what Jason and I have both found, is that talking to all of these women in the industry is just super helpful, very educational, and it's important right now, today. And women have a lot to offer, both to brewers, in operations and marketing, sort of across the board. So just like National has educational events, social events, conferences, I think that's what we aim to do for our chapter. Have it not be all business, have some learning involved, but also have a lot of fun involved as well.
Are there any plans to approach like any of the local community colleges throughout the state or anything like that with information about how more women can get involved or become interested? I know that we've been having conversations about how to bring people into the industry who may not have already had exposure. So I'm just wondering what great ideas you guys might have that we can get support of as an association and try to help broaden the reach of what this industry means.
I think that's a great suggestion, and we are so new.
I mean, you're only 2 months in. You're supposed to have these answers, Amethyst.
I mean, I'm not saying this as the treasurer or financial liaison, as Pink Boots calls us, but there's so many women-owned breweries on the BAM map, and then just so many women in the industry at non-women-owned breweries. And we have, right now, our membership is still small because we just started, and I would love to see both the women who own breweries and the men who own breweries to encourage all their ladies to join, all their people who identify as female join, and just see what we have to offer. I think it's going to be an exciting year for us. And also, I think that they can bring their ideas to the table, and all three of us would be willing to listen to what people are wanting, as well as the ideas that we have ourselves.
I think that you brought up a really great point there, Kate. If you do visit marylandbeer.org and check out our map section, we do have a listing of breweries that have identified as women-owned. So if you want to build a tour out of women-owned breweries, you're more than able to do that very easily by going and clicking the women-owned category on our map, and they'll all pop up there. We've talked a couple of times publicly about an app that we're developing. It also will reflect a women-owned beer trail throughout Maryland. So that's very cool. We will be breaking out all kinds of different minority ownership options and things like that. So our goal is to highlight the people in the industry just as much as we're highlighting the beers. And I think that as more and more people see that and experience that, there'll be more people who are knocking on doors of breweries saying, hey, I can bring some talent here. What do I need to do to get involved?
Mm-hmm. I mean, sorry, Jim.
Go ahead.
Well, just when we started getting registrations, I was both excited and a little embarrassed when a name came across our newest member, and I did not know Diamondback, which is one of the closest breweries to our location, has a female head brewer. Like that's even if I'm not aware of who my female brewing neighbors are. How would the rest of the community know this too? And giving a face to this group and within our own community, and then helping. I mean, we don't just take Judy out and parade her around every hour.
I mean, you should.
I know a lady made this beer, but we still get that sometimes when someone says something about, oh, you're a brewer, and we use her pronoun. We say she, and huh? A woman made your beer? Yes. And she can vote too. Sorry.
I like this digs, Amethyst. You got the sense of humor that I appreciate. And she's allowed to drive to work. All kinds of great things.
Without a chaperone.
Yeah. Well, I think that as the growth of the industry continues, it goes without saying that more people who don't represent the current stereotype of beer are going to want to be involved and are going to find their way into the industry. And I think groups like Pink Boot Society make that access a lot more tangible. I think it becomes less and less of a barrier when you see great representation like this in the industry and people who really do have a goal to promote and lift people up. So that's great. What are the challenges that your chapter identified when you were talking about forming? Did you see anything that was going to potentially hold you back from being as successful as you wanted to as a new chapter? Are there things that you'd like to see kind of change in the landscape of craft beer that would make it easier for you?
I mean, I'll just start by saying we didn't know a lot coming into this. It was just kind of like let's start a chapter. And we had to really dig through all the guidelines and all the legal stuff and realize, oh, shoot, I did this. I was supposed to ask for permission first and like all this kind of stuff. Like I think I made our logo. I altered the Pink Boots logo to have the Maryland flag across the words Pink Boots, like fill it in with the pattern. And then I was like, oh, that's apparently against the rules. Whoops. And there's just like, not that we're in over our heads, but it's a super, it's a learning experience right out of the gate for all of us. But I think that as strong women in the industry, we're going to take it in stride and start small. And honestly, okay, I take that back. We're not even really starting small. We've already hit the ground super running. We have 3 events already scheduled. We have 1 collaboration brew done, another collaboration brew on the schedule, 30 members in only 2 months. I think that's great, you guys. We're doing great, but I think the challenge is just kind of starting from almost nothing.
What opportunities are there for your chapter to work with the other surrounding chapters? There's Philly has one, DC has one. Are there opportunities for all 3 of you to get together and work out some kind of cool regional stuff and like Mid-Atlantic highlight or something like that?
Yeah, so at our collaboration brew day, Lily came up from Denizens. She is actually the Maryland allocated co-leader for the DC chapter. Their chapter's huge,
cool.
so they have someone kind of assigned to the major zones. She came to our brew day. She has offered us so much support when we were confused about finance, how the money moves. They gave support to Kate. I just got an email from them the other day asking if the DC chapter was thinking of doing a Frederick trip. Would Greater Maryland like to be involved or host? And this is really just already the community is so simple. All we had to do was ask to be let in. It's kind of like women in the brewing industry. You have to ask to be let in. Just
show up. Somebody's going to hand you a mash paddle or something and get you going.
My mama told me to take up space.
That's good advice. Because you're either going to be in the way or you're going to become useful very quickly. Well, I think that's cool. I think it's great that there is the opportunity to kind of cross-pollinate and learn a lot because, the Mid-Atlantic represents a great amount of knowledge in this industry. We have some really, some kind of legacy brands and legacy people who have been around. There's a lot of really great talent here. New ideas, new approaches, innovation. It's all here in this hotbed. And it's awesome that you have that chance to kind of work together with the other chapters and figure out how to be extremely successful, not only individually, but as a region.
Jim, I have a question for you.
Okay.
When you came to Ladies' Day, is there a female brewer that you kind of fanboy on? It's like, oh my gosh, I get to hang out with.
Not really. I get a kick out of hanging out with all of them. I have, like I said, I've been in this industry for a while. I've gotten to know a lot of faces and personalities. I get a warm fuzzy when I'm hanging out with people in this industry, no matter who they are. If they're a fan of beer and they want to talk about beer and they want to have a great conversation about it and share good ideas, I'm there. Do you have a female brewer that you fangirl over?
Oh, Holly. If Holly is anywhere, I'm like, ah!
Talk to Holly.
I know, and we can't say who she's with because she came as a friend of the brewing community, not with her brewery that day. But yeah, and she's here often, and I still just think, wow, you have totally your most high profile brewer to me in the world, and you live down the street, and you're nice.
Holly is a gem. I was very, very happy. I'd only met Holly maybe once or twice in passing. I think once at the airport on the way out to GABF, we sat and talked for maybe 5 minutes, and then a couple of other times. And I really got a chance to chat with Holly at the brew day, and it was really great. Holly's got a wonderful head and is just so on the money with the observation of what's going on in the industry. So having Holly as an ally in your organization is awesome. Do you have any other cool questions for me? This is fun. I don't know how to answer questions on this show.
I have a question.
Doing the mashup that you and I talked about, Amethyst, is that what's happening?
Jim, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Are you coming to one of the pink outs?
I would love to come to one of the pink outs. I have been staying out of public events due to this whole COVID deal, but my second vaccination is fully operational. My 5G's uploaded next week, so I may have to twist an arm and come and visit one of your events. I would love to be there.
You could get that last ticket.
I guess I could. I might have to see if it's still available. I think Amethyst did a great job selling it.
Let me check. I got a notification.
Is it?
No.
But Carroll doorbell went off.
No, but Carroll Community College wants me to come to a business seminar.
Well, see?
For a small fee. Nope, tickets still available, folks.
Go to the Pink Boot Society Greater Maryland Facebook page and click that button. So that's going to be the first unveiling of this beer, right? Other than Amethyst drinking all of it right now while we're on the call.
Fresh from the tank. Actually, so we'll the 20th, next Tuesday, about 10 of the women will come back. They're going to run the canning line with us. So we'll obviously have some misfires and have to drink at 10 a.m. And then we'll go ahead and release it at the brewery that day. Actually, I'll be driving several cases and kegs that day to some accounts. So really, if you want to be the first one to sip the Neeple. It's going to be available on the 20th.
The more you say that, I feel like you intentionally have named this style to be able to make some turns of phrase that may not be appropriate.
Your mind is just not right.
There's a lady who's cackling while she's... I'm sorry, so it's going into cans on April the 20th?
Yes, April 20th, we'll release it at Checker Spot Brewing, and then Thursday at Full Tilt will be kind of the debut of how the Greater Maryland Pink Boots Society will host a party.
Awesome.
So just so you know, Judy is watching this 5 feet from me, and it's on a time delay, so she is just cracking up.
You promised Judy was going to make a cameo.
She's supposed to make a cameo. She could refill my beer.
Jason just refilled my beer.
I just saw one get dropped off. How lucky.
I want
We
to
did. Look, delivery.
Kate, how are you? You guys aren't brewing out of there, though. You just have like a cooler or a kegerator?
He is brewing here. We can't sell anything yet, but he is brewing here.
Fun.
Yes.
So what else do people need to know about the Pink Boots Society of Greater Maryland? What else do they need to know about women in the industry? What else do they need to know about kick-ass beer coming from kick-ass people?
Oh.
There she is.
Yes. Hi, Judy.
The mother of the Neeple.
And once again, that is NEIPL or cold IPA.
No, because ours is hazy.
Oh,
And-
easy cold IPA.
And it's also gluten reduced.
Well, let's talk about that. What does that mean to the consumer?
If you have celiacs, it means nothing. Judy's husband, Rob, is gluten intolerant. So when she started a brewery, she made sure, thank you, Judy. She made sure that all the beers could be something that Rob could drink. So we treat our beers with a clarifier that reduces the gluten to below 20 parts per million, which means it's not detectable, but legally it is not a gluten-free beer.
Right.
So if you have an intolerance, we're a great place to come and drink some beers and fill up down your tummy. That's what it means for us.
Very good. I think that there may be some misconceptions out there about what gluten-free versus gluten-reduced beer is and who it's acceptable for. And I think that challenge has been posing itself in this industry for a few years. So it's always nice to hear somebody talk about what that means. We had Beth from BC Brewing on, and she was telling us about how she brews gluten-free beers because of her level of intolerance. And it's so cool to hear about all the different ways to approach this and to get products into the hands of people that demand them. All right, what else do we need to talk about? I know there's got to be other stuff. This is a cool thing. We've got 3 people with great minds. You guys have good things to share. What else are we talking about? We don't have to burn 14 minutes, but I would like to make sure that we talk about everything.
I do want to mention one cool thing that involves the Pink Out events. So there are 2 ticket prices. The VIP ticket price comes with a lot of cool stuff. Let me just say, not only will you get the flight of the 5 beers that are being presented by the Pink Boots members, but you're also going to get a commemorative glass and a full pour in that glass. And the commemorative glass the artwork was made by local artist Colleen Scobie, CMS Tinkerings at Instagram. And I think, do we have that artwork
I don't know what happened to it. Let me pull it up.
It's super cool. And we basically asked her to be like, okay, can you somehow make an image, an illustration for us that we can put on T-shirts and glassware to sell at these events so that it can represent like the women in our industry. So that's the illustration. And then the tagline is, my favorite brewers wear pink for Pink Boots Society.
That's a great illustration.
Mm-hmm. So that comes with your VIP tickets.
Very cool.
Yeah, make the boys got to drink the pink.
Are tickets available for each of the other events? They're good enough number of tickets there that when all the people who tune into this over the next couple of days decide to flood your events, you'll have plenty to welcome them.
Yeah, so Full Tilt, like I said, 1 ticket left. If you really need to get in there, Rachel will be auctioning off a ticket. The brewery is not closed for a private event though. We chose our tickets based on at the time the current COVID safety protocols. In theory, there is more space at Full Tilt. We can't guarantee walk-ins for the actual pink out. 10 Ike is got tons of tickets left. It is a bit of a drive, but it's a great drive. It's a simple drive. Colt Classic is on the way there. And we're just trying to make new friends on the east side of the bridge. And then Can's filling station is actually filling up. We're toting it as a pre-Mother's Day event. And so I'm really excited because Patuxent is going to they just did a honey grapefruit Hefeweizen. That's going to come there. Yeah. And then Idiom's Girls did a mango beer. So that'll be there. It'll just be a nice kind of festive May Saturday of powerful women beer. And Can's filling station at the Cross Street Market is just an awesome, cool place. Not just Can, but the Cross Street Market, because you can get any kind of lunch. It's like a food court for foodies. So that'll be great. And then, like I said, Wardock is going to add something on May 1st. We're just working out the details, and that's cool because you get to look at horses and drink beer. And then 1623 is going to have something out in Westminster on the 12th. Those right now are not, we don't have tickets available for those because we aren't sure how they're laid out.
And do you intend to just keep running right into summer with more and more events? Rachel said yes. Amethyst looks a little...
I would love to. It just depends on how many kegs we have left because they're all pretty much sold now, right?
Everything is pre-allocated. If Shades of Pink is done, if one is... Actually, we do have one going to a Frederick account. Oscar's Ale House in Frederick, they will get a keg. They just aren't sure how they can support an event with not having outside dining. So we're still working with them and trying to get a Frederick location. But if other members are breweries who may not have a member of Pink Boots, want to work with us and host something, I'm happy to aid, show up, hand off social media marketing to Rachel, make Kate make a spreadsheet. We just, we're 3 volunteers and we have big ideas, but at the same time, we do have grown-up jobs, drinking. And we want to go to breweries too.
I think we should also say that it's not just the Pink Out events. We're going to be planning other events throughout the year that will be available to members and non-members. So if people don't know if they want to be a member, they want to see what the benefit is, or just check out a random event, there will be educational events and social events that are forthcoming that aren't just the Pink Out events. So there will be stuff throughout the year that people can check out and see what they think.
Yeah, Kate just did her Cicerone. She's got all the books. We've talked about creating study group pods and sharing resources for Cicerone training. I'm working with Brian up at Mad Science Brewing in Frederick to try and do a hop harvesting day in August. So for ladies who want to know what that feels like, we'll go out there and have beers and lunch and sweat in the sun and take some hops.
That'll be wonderful. Christian has a really great question for you, and it's one that I was going to ask before we wrap up. Each of you has a unique background, but what advice would you offer to women who want to get into the industry? Amethyst offered some great advice, take up space, but I'm sure there's other advice that can go along. So what insight can you offer to anybody who's interested, and and how could you let them know about the challenges they may face ahead of them?
I think that so I posted in the Craft Beer Professionals page on Facebook about a week ago, asking people how they got into the industry and if there were any unique stories where they didn't enter through home brewing or through hostessing, waitressing, bartending, the service industry. Did you ever come from a different background? And the answers that I was seeing were so interesting. I was seeing a full gamut of I was a biology major. I was an event coordinator. I was this, I was that. I was into social working. And it's just so interesting to me to really grasp the concept of that. There's so many people in this industry with so many unique talents and different backgrounds. So my best advice is, like, if you want to get into the beer industry, never say that you have to reformulate who you are and your own talents to fit the mold to enter the industry. You bring your own talent that needs to be seen, because the more diverse our industry is, the more different our ideas are going to be, the more unique they are. And then that makes the beer more interesting. It makes it a better experience for everyone. So, like, coming from an art background, I never thought I'd enter the craft beer industry. But when I did, it's unlike any other industry that I've ever been in. The way people collaborate and the way people lift each other up, it felt weird to me at first. I was like, is there any, like, this? It felt weird. It's almost like being a northerner and going down south, and suddenly people are like saying hello to you on the street, and you're like, why are you talking to me? Like,
You don't know me.
exactly. It was the same. I relate that to the same ways in the industry. People are so welcoming. And if you are like Amethyst and you say, you know, like, take up space, and then I'm saying, show them your talent because it's unique and it's needed, and maybe they don't know that they need that talent, you know. Just like, your diversity is your power, and what you bring to the table, if it's unique and truly who you are, I think it's needed. So be who you are.
I think that's excellent.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Rachel said. As someone, like I said, that's newer to the industry and with a background in operations, I think that it's just important to know that there are ladies in this industry doing all of it, some of it. And the best advice that we've received from our friends at Checker Spot is to talk to everybody and ask all of the questions that you have. And if people don't want to talk to you, that tells you something too. But in my experience, much like Rachel said, we haven't had anyone say, no, we're not going to talk to you. We're not going to answer your questions. Everyone answers your questions. They give you all the advice they can. And everybody wants all the other breweries to be successful. So that's been pretty awesome. So when I found myself, Amethyst, I think you said a midlife crisis. I don't know if I thought about it that way for myself. But when I finally decided, like, this is what I'm doing, like I said, it happened organically. But when I was like, all right, this is what's happening. In the words of one of my sons, he always says that he's going to send it. So that's what I decided to do. I read everything I could read, and I just sent it.
That sounds like sage advice too.
Yes. He's a wise 9-year-old.
Hey, there you go.
So Jim, like, when I wanted to, like, get involved in beer, I started volunteering at festivals. One, because I'm cheap. If you told me there was a free way to get into a festival and drink, and all I had to do was pour beer for 4 hours, I was in. So that's actually how I built all my connections and contacts and felt confident enough to put together a festival. But like Rachel had said about, ask what you can do, ask to have your talents be recognized, but don't change who you are. There's so many breweries out there, and each brewery has, like, their own kind of their own dynamics, their own niche. They're not just their own beer, but who they want to be in the world. And somewhere there is a home for everyone, whether it's their regular tap house where you choose to drink where you choose to drink because you feel good there. Then you can choose to work or volunteer. We got several women who started off as beer tenders. They're professional bartenders, moved into the beer tending, and then we've had shifts come up in the back brewery, and we offer them first to them. And it's not for everyone, but some didn't even realize they could just do that with no background. And Judy's really good. When we go on brewery tours with the Baltimore Beer Babes, I wouldn't go on the actual tour of the brewery, and Judy asked me why. I said, because I know how to make beer, not really interested in their bright tank. And she's like, no. We need to be back there. We need to have all those people see us back there. It's not about how they load in their grain. It's about all those people out there seeing a group of women back here in the brewery and them saying, why are those women back there? What's going on? And make people ask why and then show them why.
That's really great advice too. I think that that's something, and great on Judy for recognizing the importance and the value of being present. You know, that is huge. And that I have found myself in the same position before where I'm like, okay, how many dozens of breweries do you really want to see when they all kind of look the same? And, you know, I'm not there to make a statement, but I always find that I can learn something and pick something up. But I find value in looking at the people around me who are there. And I ask that, what are they doing here? Why is that family here? You know, you can tell it's a mom and dad and a son. What are they getting out of this experience? And what about this experience is fulfilling to them? And maybe that's just where my head's been in beer for so many years, is trying to figure out why people like it, why they want to buy beer. So that's awesome that you're there to make a statement, whether or not you're truly there to look at somebody's bright tank or mash tun or whatever it may be that they want to show off. Look what we got last week. Yeah, look at all that bright, shiny stainless behind you. And Amethyst, to your point about people coming in and getting their feet wet with roles in the brewery that they may not have experienced. You know, when I was overseeing a tap room at a brewery, it was always great when staff members who were not part of our production process got that kind of come behind the curtain in Oz and figure out how beer gets bottled or canned, figure out how kegs get filled, figure out what it's like to go and do a sales call and see where the beer leaves the brewery and goes into the trade. I used to take my tasting room staff with me on sales calls in key accounts all the time because I wanted them to understand what the arguments were in the marketplace and to understand the mindset of the people who were supposed to be helping promote our brands. And I thought it was quite enlightening. And there were several of them that were like, I never want to do that again. Yeah? But it is what it is. And it gives you that exposure, and it's a new way to see, you know, it would have only taken one of them to be like, you know, this kicks ass and I want to do this, that I would not have had to do it. So, well, I think today's chat has been really fun. I'm looking forward to an opportunity to maybe do another one of these in the fall when the second beer comes out. You can talk a little bit more about that and the plans for it. Let everybody know more about the distribution and all that kind of stuff. Kate, good luck getting everything going in the next couple of weeks and months. We are excited to hear from everyone.
We're excited too. We hope to see everybody around at Picket, and we'll visit all the breweries that we can while we're still trying to open.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to bumping into you somewhere along the road. I am going to go look at the options for Pink Out events and see which one is most convenient to me. I do agree with Nikki that 10 Ike is worth the drive. That sounds like a really good TripAdvisor or Yelp review. So I do agree that Nikki has a wonderful place to visit. So I may end up at 10 Ike, but I'm not sure. But for the rest of you, thank you very much for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you, Jim.
For those of you watching us, whether you're watching live or you're watching in the next couple of days, please go check out all the great stuff that the Pink Boots Society is up to. Great international organization. Check out the Greater Maryland chapter more specifically to make sure that you get all of the information about what they're doing. Their events are coming up. They're all listed on the Facebook page. Get that last ticket to Full Tilt so that Rachel can auction one off and go out and show your support. And with her shameless plugs, go check out Brew La La on YouTube. And please check out marylandbeer.org for more information about Maryland's craft beer industry. And if you are watching us on YouTube, give us a like, hit that little bell thing, and why not? We love seeing you here. So thanks, ladies. I look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.